Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out ExpressVPN.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, the Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, yeah, baby. It finally happened, dude. Let's go. Derwin James is now officially a Charger for the next 4 seasons. Let's go. Bolt up, baby. We all knew this was going to happen. Even like the best of us, right? Myself included. There was really not a doubt in my mind it wouldn't happen. But at the same time, like, yeah, I was getting a little bit nervous at times, just wanting to see him participate in practice. So I feel like maybe let's all collectively, as a Chargers fandom, take a sigh of relief right now, right? Welcome back, Derwin James. Super excited to see him back on the team. And man, did he get a big payday, dude. Derwin James, breaking news, signs a 4-year extension averaging $19.1 million, making him the highest paid safety in NFL history. The deal also includes a record-breaking $42 million guaranteed and a record $29 million in year 1. Ooh, that's a lot of numbers, man. You know what? I think every single penny absolutely worth it. We're going to make sense of that contract in today's video. Of course, the official breakdown of the contract has not yet been released, but I got a good idea of how it might shake out, as well as why it was so important for the Chargers to re-sign this guy ASAP, and maybe what things are going to look like now that he's back on the field, especially in practice. So question in the comments before we do kick off, guys, like we always do. Give me your Derwin predictions. I think we may have asked this once before, but give them to me again, right? How many interceptions, sacks, and forced fumbles are we going to see from him in 2022? And keep in mind, as reference, last year he logged 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. It's going to be a big year for number 3. Before we kick off, guys, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, Derwin, action. Breaking news, Derwin James is officially a Charger for the further 4 seasons after signing a 4-year, $76 million extension with the team. And today we're going to break down all these numbers and kind of figure out what this all means for the team, especially with the cap, right? That's probably the biggest thing that I get asked every single time a new player is signed or a Chargers player is extended, is what's the money looking like right there? Because of course we love the offseason. Myself, dude, probably one of the biggest fans of the offseason because of the possibilities, right? You can add certain players to your team and come up with a big result. And the Chargers very much so an example of that this season, as they've completely turned over their roster. So what does that mean for our money, our cap, and everything going forward? Well, first off, in this first segment, we're going to talk about brass tax, okay? And this is basically the numbers, getting into what Derwin James' deal entails and what it kind of means for the Chargers going forward. Because again, this is likely the biggest question in all of our minds. So let's actually start things off here with a nice base, right? Derwin's deal is going to go into effect in the year 2023, as you're going to see over here. This is the year that we're looking at. In that year, we are an estimated $18 million over the cap already. Is that a big yikes? Should we start panicking? Not really at this point. When looking at this number, you have to also take into account that the rollover cap, which is this number right here, if you guys can kind of see me scrolling on the right side there, hasn't been taken into effect yet, which means the Chargers, who have what, something like $12.5 million right now, is going to roll over and shrink this number, right? So it's going to be around $6 million over the cap with the rollover space from 2022. That's pretty manageable. How would this deal, though, with the Chargers already knowing that we're a little bit, let's say, over budget? How is Derwin's deal going to affect the numbers going further? Well, the first thing that's going to stick out to people is this number right here, $29 million in year 1. Now, let's not panic, all right? That doesn't mean that Derwin's going to account for $29 million against our cap in 2023. That number can be a little bit deceiving. It's still kind of accurate to what Derwin's going to receive, but it's not going to hit the cap that aggressively. And this is because the team has the power to spread that money over the course of his entire contract with the Chargers. And this is via bonuses, like roster bonuses, signing bonuses, workout bonuses, etc., etc. You can spread that money throughout so it doesn't count all against your cap at once, which of course would be pretty devastating for the Chargers. If it was $29 million year one, we'd be something like, what, $35 million over the cap? Don't worry, that's not going to happen. Essentially what this means is that although Derwin is going to be getting a large sum of cash, let's say up front, it's only really going to count against or hit our cap in small increments over 4 years. For example, I was asked a lot of these same questions when we signed Mike Williams early on in the season. And you know what? It is kind of a similar situation here because, you know, when we took a look at his contract and things were starting to get reported, it was $28 million that we were seeing as the number up front that he was going to be getting year one. That actually wasn't the case, right? It had a lot of us freaking out. In the end, you know, you'll see that that number was actually spread out through the course of a lot of years. And that's via, again, these signing bonuses, $7 million here, 7 here, 7 here. You got the roster bonuses. The team has the power to spread that number out, even though they were able to pay Mike Williams that yearly cash up front. And this resulted in a pretty manageable cap hit for the Chargers this season in 2022 of only $14 million. So just kind of keeping in mind how that works going forward, I think it'll bring a little bit more clarity in terms of Derwin's deal. So back to Derwin for a second here, right? I have a rough idea of what I think this is going to look like because, again, he's been signed through 2023 through 2026, $76 million is a lot of money. Guarantees of something like $50 million, $29 million up front. There's a lot of things to work out here. So what I did to kind of help simplify what things could look like is come up with kind of a mock of my own, right? So this right here is a mock-up. Of course, these aren't the official numbers. Nobody go in here saying, oh, we have the official numbers for Derwin. No, we do not yet. This is kind of my mock-up, hence like the goofy font and stuff like that. I don't want people to get confused. So this is kind of the way I've broke it down. Now, keep in mind, this is me spitballing here, okay? If you're watching this, perhaps, let's say, at a later date as well, the numbers have likely been updated by then. So definitely check out a site like SpotRack or Over the Cap and take a look to see how everything shook out. So let's break down what we're thinking here, okay? The Chargers in 2023. So if we look back here for the Chargers as far as their cap, if we actually scroll over here to the right, you'll see the estimated cap next season, minus 18. Again, with the rollover, it's more like minus 6. That's kind of what we have to work with in 2023. So that already tells us we're going to have to be moving some money around. So in the first year of Derwin James' contract, I decided to try to alleviate some of that movement in the monies just a little bit by not having the biggest cap hit in the world. So what I decided to do was, again, right here where it says bonus breakdown, right there in the middle, that's where you're going to have to pay out that $29 million. You can also pay some of his other guarantee through his base salary, which is going to be lumped in with that in the end. So again, trying to make things simple. His base salary, $7 million. His bonus, $7 million. And again, that bonus can come from anywhere. Signing bonuses, roster workout, whatever. We're just going to say $7 million as a total, which is going to give the Chargers a $14 million cap hit in 2023. Not too bad. When you count in, you know, what Derwin is going to be making and the Chargers as far as what they're over the cap right now, that would bring them to around minus $20 million or $20 million over the cap, and that's pretty manageable. Next, we have 2024. Now, this is probably going to be one of the more important years in Derwin's contract in trying to address getting him paid right away. And this is because, of course, the Chargers do have another monstrous contract coming up in the offseason of 2024. And of course, you guys know that is Justin Herbert. We need to make sure that we free up enough money for Justin Herbert, make sure that we're as comfortable as possible. So in my opinion, again, spitballing here, I would say a base salary of $10.5 million and a huge bonus of $12 million lumped into 2024, where the Chargers are going to have a little bit more spending space. It's a good idea to get a lot of that addressed in that season, and that would carry a cap hit of $22.5 million. So if we come here to the Chargers, and let's actually switch this to 2024, you'll see that the cap is actually a lot less strict in 2024. $29 million is what you have in spending space. Of course, you're going to have to move some money around to get that number down in 2023, but you do have some space to work with there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think 2024 in reality should be closer to around $56 million. When you do calculate, the adjusted cap, et cetera, I think that's a number I found out there. So that actually will be a little bit more help for the Chargers in the long run. Still, being able to take a large sum of this and pay Derwin James up front, definitely not a bad idea with Justin Herbert's contract around the corner. Let's go ahead and switch over here to another screen here that I prepared for this video. 2024, like I mentioned, that is the last year before you got to start paying Justin Herbert. 2025, that's when Herbert contract activates. Okay, that's the first year you're paying Justin Herbert. Sure, his first year cap hit might not be too crazy, but you want to help yourself out however you can, right? And the biggest way you can do that is through trying to, let's say, adjust other contracts to hit for a little bit less the year Justin Herbert's contract goes into effect. And so what I did here, $12 million base, $5 million bonus, $17 million. That's pretty manageable, right? And then finally, the last season here, which again, 2026 is when Justin Herbert's contract is probably going to kick in for a lot more money. That's going to be your potential out for Derwin James, and that's at age 30. $18 million base salary, only $5 million in bonuses, $23 million as a whole. And what that'll do is allow you to keep Derwin James if you want to move things around. It's more than manageable. $23 million is probably not going to look like too much when it comes to his, level of play at the age of 30. But if you do find issue or whatever, the team, they always offer themselves an out, which would give them still $18 million saved if they needed to move on from Derwin. But I don't see that being the case. This is more structured with him staying on the team throughout, the entire course of his contract here. So it looks pretty good in terms of how it's laid out, how it's organized. I feel like it fits very well in terms of when we need to pay Justin Herbert as well. And the math kind of makes sense to me. So where does that put us in terms of cap overall, right? So now that we've kind of explained, it's not going to hit all at once. You can spread it over the course of 4 years. Things are looking actually a lot more smooth than we thought. Well, I would say that the cap is actually pretty manageable, okay? So again, in 2023, you're going to see a cap of, let's say, minus $6 million. Let's say $20 million over the cap with the Derwin extension, okay? So $20 million over the cap. Derwin's now on the team. It's not ideal to ever be over the cap, but, it's really not that big of a deal to fix, right? We've seen some teams 60, 50, $100 million over the cap, and they're able to manage with that not too badly. So $20 million over the cap, definitely manageable. What that's going to result in, though, is maybe minimal movement with free agents coming into the team. Still, Derwin's going to be worth that. 2024, if we decide to switch to that season, the Chargers will be a little bit more comfortable, right? This site here saying $29 million. It'll probably be closer to about $50 million. That is definitely not too bad. Definitely gives the Chargers a little bit more breathing room. And I would expect some of it to be used, let's say moving money from 2023. But I would also use a big portion of that cap space in 2024 to move a large sum of Derwin James contract, right? So 2024, you'll still have some money, maybe some light free agent moves, nothing too crazy, but the Chargers should be looking pretty comfortable. 2025, the big year, the year that Justin Herbert is going to get signed, right? The salary cap is going to be kind of nuts. And again, this is kind of deceiving to the team situation. $191 million. That is monstrous. But keep in mind, only a handful of players are going to be rostered at this point. Take a look at this, at the Chargers being accounted for here. It's not very many. You're going to have to pay Rashawn Slater, mainly rookies on here. $191 million is a lot of money, but that's going to get burned up really, really quick, right? You're going to have to re-sign players. You're going to have to sign in new free agents. You're going to have new rookies. That number is going to shrink dramatically. And then when you take into account Justin Herbert's contract, which I'm estimating him to get somewhere around $45 million a season, it's going to get tight really quick. And in this season, in 2025, the Chargers, I had estimated for around $17 million of Derwin James. And that's pretty good, right? That's going to save you, let's say, about $5-6 million in order to get Justin Herbert extended. Maybe add some free agents if you need to, but it gives you a little bit of breathing room to work with. And that's why I kind of, organized it the way I did. So at this point, it doesn't look too bad, right? Again, 2025, it's going to work out. The money always works out. The cap is more malleable than people seem to see on the surface. It's going to continue to grow, and Derwin's deal is going to look more and more like a steal as the years go on, maybe even in just a year or two. So the final couple of things I did want to address in this video, the Dragon's heartbeat is what this segment is called, and it's because it's pretty important. As far as the books are concerned, they're going to work out. The biggest consequences is likely you're not going to be able to sign, very many free agents, at least big name free agents, without any significant moves like cuts or trades, right? Which is fine. The roster's loaded. Derwin's more than worth it. And going forward, the Chargers are going to have one of their most important pieces on the entire team. Derwin is more than your typical safety, right? That's really evident with how he got paid, how Brandon Staley utilizes him. But in this unit specifically, it's especially important that he remained rostered because Derwin James is the definition of what Brandon Staley wants from this defense. He wants versatility, he wants unpredictability, and Derwin is literally the symbol of that style of play. I believe that the Chargers loaded up pretty much every single position on that defense for Derwin James. I think he mentioned that. Like, just as he's getting Justin Herbert weapons, he's also getting Derwin James weapons. And it's very, very important that Derwin, is on the field to benefit from all of these things. Because no matter where Derwin plays, because again, being very versatile, he can play safety, linebacker, edge, corner, whatever you want him to play, he can do it. And with adding all these other names, now he's not only going to be, let's say, leaving behind the free safety position, he's going to leave a capable guy up there. Let's say like a JT Woods. Let's say like, I don't know, Alohi Gilman's looking a lot better. Nasir Adderley's looking a lot better. There's guys that can hold down the fort up there. You could even put Bryce Callahan or a corner back there if you really needed to. But when you move him, let's say, into linebacker, now he's playing next to Kyle Van Noy or Drew Tranquill. That looks really good. You throw him at edge. I think they call it the money position. No, that's the linebacker. It's the X position. The X position. Now he's going to be playing next to Khalil Mack or Derwin or Joey Bosa. That's pretty lethal. You put him in the nickel, right? Then he's going to be playing next to J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel with those other corners. That's pretty lethal. You put him pretty much anywhere on the field, he's going to have quality talent next to him. And that really does allow him to be the ultimate, let's say, wild card for offensive coordinators to have to deal with. Derwin James is an integral piece to this defense, and he alone, I would say, yes, his team, of course, team game, but just his presence and his unpredictability all over the field is going to lead to a lot more wins, a lot more opportunities on defense to make big plays that make big impacts throughout the season. It's very, very good that the Chargers, again, at all costs, were able to keep him on the roster. Now, I am getting asked a lot about any concerns, right? I was like, Director, are you any concerns? Did we pay him too much? Is this really going to affect us going forward? Again, yes, it's going to affect us in terms of not being able to sign as many free agents as we want, but it's absolutely necessary. You got to keep Derwin James on the roster. The only actual concern I would have with Derwin is his health, of course, right? It's something that obviously everybody's going to be a little bit concerned about. And knock on wood, we hope that he's put that behind him just the way that Keenan Allen did in the past. But legitimately, that's the only thing. We know what Derwin is. He's one of the most valuable defensive players in the league. And I feel like, a deal that pays a majority of his guarantees up front definitely helps protect the Chargers against that. So let's say the Chargers pay a majority of his guarantees for the first 2 years. That is great. That means the Chargers, if anything really does happen, if it really does get that bad, the team should be protected, at least financially. But we all hope, again, knock on wood, that that's not the case, and we get the full value out of Derwin James over the next 4 seasons. So this is a big day, guys. Big, big day for the Chargers defense. Big day for the fan base. Derwin James is back for the next 4 seasons. To answer my own question at the top of the show, as far as his status goes, I've got Derwin for 5 picks, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, which is bonkers. Again, maybe individually it doesn't scream at you, but doing those all together is absolutely bonkers. And you know what? When it comes to Derwin, his stats are going to look great, but the stats don't paint the full picture. His versatility, his unpredictability is going to make a huge impact pretty much every single game. All right. And I might even be, undershooting it by quite a bit. Maybe he does make it out of the season with 7 interceptions. Maybe they do blitz him like crazy. He gets 8. Maybe with those blitzes, it does result in 2 or 3 more forced fumbles. You never know. He is the centerpiece of this defense, and it's going to pay big, big dividends. So my bottom line in this video is that Derwin is, and always will be one of the most important pieces of this team. He's really the quarterback of the defense when all is said and done, right? And keeping him, even at all costs, was absolutely crucial, because this number of $76.5 million or whatever, that's going to seem so much less significant in a year or two as the cap grows, right? It's going to grow. It always grows. There's going to be, safeties that get paid well above him, even if Derwin continues to be the best safety in the league, just because that's how it works. So getting him signed right now, very important at all costs, doesn't even bother me. But for right now, perhaps the biggest key to our defense returns. That is something to be excited about. Because the biggest thing, and I've been waiting all video to say this, the biggest statement that I can make is that his presence has yet to be seen on this new roster. Isn't that crazy? This defense has already been proving to be one of the better, if not best, in the NFL, and this is without their best player on defense on the field. The potential, dudes. The potential. It's really going to elevate this defense to a whole nother level, and the only thing I can really say now that Derwin has officially returned is this is where the fun begins, baby. Derwin James, welcome back to the Chargers. 4 more years of Derwin. It's going to be a very exciting one to witness, and one that Chargers fans should be absolutely ecstatic about. Do not concern yourselves with the money. It's going to work out. In the end, it's absolutely worth it. Derwin James returning, one of the best things that you could possibly hear as a Chargers fan in 2022. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you hit us up, or if you did enjoy what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Number 3 is here to stay, baby.